Hello, my name is Miranda, and I wanted to share with you a little bit about myself and my journey into the world of breathwork. So, I tried my first breathwork class early last year at my local yoga studio. And being a breathwork class at a yoga studio, it was very much pranayama technique based. So you could say I had a very beautiful and gentle introduction into the world of breathwork. I found it to be a really relaxing experience. I left feeling good, and I continued to go to those breathwork classes at the studio once a week, along with the yoga classes I was doing, and also a sound healing class that I was going to there on a Sunday night. After a couple of months, I went on a Sunday night as usual to one of the sound healing classes, and I went home, went to bed, and when I woke up the next day, my right ear was ringing, and it didn't stop ringing from there. And it was an issue, so I went to the doctor and I was diagnosed with tinnitus. And I was also told it's permanent, it's not treatable, and there's nothing you can do about it apart from learn to live with it. And this is very much not what I wanted to hear at the time, because I was not coping with it at all. It was affecting my sleep. I was struggling to sleep. It was affecting my work. I wasn't able to concentrate. I was working in the music industry at the time. I wasn't able to go to live music and be around loud music anymore. I struggled to read because the noise was just so loud. I wasn't able to read anything, focus on anything. And I pretty quickly spiraled downwards and became very insular, became very paranoid and anxious of being around any loud sounds, to the point that I stopped going out socially, to the point that I would take my dog for a walk and I would get anxious if I heard lawnmowers in the distance. Any sort of sounds I heard that I couldn't control, I would get major anxiety about. And it was not a good time, and this went on for months, and I couldn't help but think, how do people with tinnitus cope with it? How do they live? Because I didn't feel like I had a quality of life anymore, and some of my thoughts got quite dark at times, and I definitely questioned whether I could live like this. And simultaneously, the owner of the yoga studio I was going to, he knew about the tinnitus coming on, and he happened to call me out of the blue one day and say that he had recently met a woman who also had tinnitus, who had been going to breathwork classes to manage her symptoms, and she said it was the only thing that helped her cope with it. So he invited me to come back to another breathwork class at the studio. So I went a few days later, and again, it was a beautiful, relaxing pranayama technique-based class. And it was really nice to just, I guess, get out of my head for an hour and focus on my breathing rather than the ringing in my ear. Well, what happened at the end of the class was the instructor came up to me and she asked me a couple of questions, and then she said, I was watching you during the class and you don't breathe properly. And I thought, what do you mean I don't breathe properly? How does one not breathe properly? And she said, all your breathing is up in your chest, and that's not how you're meant to breathe. She then told me that she was a physio and asked if I'd like to go see her for a session to see if there was anything she could do to help with the tinnitus. So I booked in a session to see her the following week, and I went along as a physio client. But actually what ended up happening was she basically taught me how to retrain my breathing. So every time I went, she would give me different breathing exercises. She taught me how to breathe through the belly, how to breathe low and slow, how to become more conscious of my breathing on a day-to-day basis. And after a couple of months of seeing her and implementing these breathwork techniques, I was feeling significantly better. My paranoia and anxiety had reduced significantly. And I don't think I even connected the dots at the time, but the volume of the ringing in my ear had also gone down over that time. And I was slowly able to start living my life again because I was feeling like myself again, and I was able to cope with the noise in my ear. I started being more social again, started listening to music again, reading again. My life completely changed. These breathing techniques, breathing retraining, it didn't heal what was going on, but it transformed my life in that it gave me my life back. And so that is how I personally know the power of breath work. And then in April this year, I was made redundant from my role in the music industry. And it was actually the third redundancy I've had in the last 4 years in that industry. So the redundancies, along with the tinnitus, for me was a big sign that it was time to get out of that industry. For those reasons, but also because I myself had not been feeling so aligned in that industry the last few years anyway. So I took a couple of weeks off after the last redundancy just to reset and refresh and work out where to next. And I couldn't help but realize that breath work was just surrounding me. It was on all the podcasts I listened to. I had been reading books about breath, and I just feel like it was very much sort of everywhere in my life, knocking on the door, saying, hey, notice me. And it felt very fitting to explore that a little bit further because over the last few years, through my own sort of journey of health and well-being and healing, I have been wanting to do something a little bit more purposeful. I would love to do something that gives back to people in some way, and breathwork instructor just seemed like the perfect avenue to do that. So I am hoping that whatever I do with breathwork will help others or encourage others, inspire others, just be some sort of positive for other people the way it's been such a positive for me.